Here it is. I'm recording now. So we're going to start this. Aman is joining. We're going to start this Firebase office hours, and it's really meant to be casual. So, you know, feel free to interrupt, ask any question, any thoughts you might have. The goal is to have those, you know, every now and then to announce or like demo new features and like have also an opportunity for the community to like ask questions and have a more like direct conversation with us. So I'm gonna probably start. I think we have 45 minutes booked. I'm gonna spend like 15, 20 minutes, do a little demo of how you do like read, write, and delete. We probably won't go into auth just today because it's kind of a feature we're still actively working on. And then happy to go into more detail of more questions people might have. So I'm going to share my screen. And we're going to take it from the very beginning. So again, the goal is to integrate Firebase inside Draftbit. So it probably goes without saying for this room, but like Draftbit is just a way for you to create an app visually without necessarily knowing how to code. It offers multiple third-party backend integration, including Firebase. And so that's what we're exploring today. So the way to get started with Firebase is to go on firebase.google.com. You're going to want to click Get Started. It's going to ask you to create a project, give it a name. So we're going to call this one Firebase Office Hours. I was going to put the date, but I don't think it lets me do that. Okay. I'm not going to use Google Analytics now because I just want to demo the bare minimum. I'm going to create the project. Just a second. And so Firebase, also for those who don't know, lets you do, there are a lot of things under the umbrella of Firebase. There is not only a database, but there is authentication, cloud messaging, a bunch of other stuff. So we're only going to cover kind of the database right now that's called Firestore. So here it is. Now I have a project, a Firebase project. I can go to Firestore database, and those are the other kind of things you can do in Firebase that I just mentioned that we won't cover here. For now, I'm going to create a brand new database. Now, it's going to prompt you for the production mode or the test mode. And it's up to you, but the difference is that production mode is blocking everything right away. So you avoid any mistakes or any like security holes. So everything is off. You can't access it. If you want to access it, you'll have to be more explicit on what permission and rules you are allowing. So for this demo, I'm going to go in test mode instead. So test mode is going to open everything. It's the exact opposite. So you don't have to worry too much. You can get started. The one constraint there is that it's going to only allow that for 30 days. After that, it goes back to everything is locked. Which is great when you just want to test. We kind of want to remind people who want to test, and then maybe the app turn into something bigger. In 30 days, if they don't do anything, it's going to stop working. So be aware of that. You'll have to update your permission and rules. And I can talk about that in a sec. But again, to get started, this is the recommended way to do it. So I'm going to go next. I'm going to give it a location just so it's more responsive and scale better. And then as soon as it's done provisioning, we can actually see what the database looks like. Okay, so here it is. So this is my Firebase office hour database. I should mention that Firebase is essentially a NoSQL database. It does real time. It handles like permission and rules, as I just discussed, for security reason. It allows you to like sort and filter results. It scales automatically. So there are a bunch of advantages to Firebase. And let's try to populate a little bit of data so we can see what it looks like. So I'm gonna, for this demo, I'm gonna show what I use for cooking. So I do a lot of sous vide. So I'm gonna have, and I do a lot of sous vide, and every time I have to remember what temperature and for how long should I cook certain items, certain food. So that's what I'm gonna, that's the database I'm gonna do here, and then I'm gonna turn that into an app. So I'm gonna call that collection temps for temperatures. Actually, I'm gonna call it cook because I'm not gonna just do the temperature, I'm gonna do the time as well. So here are all my quote unquote cooking sessions. And then for the ID, I'm going to give you the name of the food. So as an example, I'm going to do steak. For the temperature, I'm going to do it in Fahrenheit, and the steak goes at 129 Fahrenheit, and it goes for like an hour. I'm going to do it in minutes here. Here we go. Okay, so a minute. I got this. I'm going to do another one just so we have two, so it's easier to like understand the relationship. I'm going to do carrots, which goes at the temperature is going to be 185-ish, 189. And the time is going to be shorter. It's going to be around 30 minutes. Okay. Cool. So now I have that all set up. I'm going to go in Draftbit and start creating a project. So going to my build.draftbit.com. This is my dashboard that hopefully you guys are familiar with. You'll see I have this Firebase pilot workspace where I've already created a few apps, but for this demo, I'm going to create a brand new one. I'm going to call Firebase office hours. All right, I'm going to put a date on this one because hopefully we'll do many more office hours after that. So I skipped over some of the kind of tutorial to how to start an app because I just want to start from scratch because I don't want to get too distracted by all the things you can do on Draftbit. So right now for this demo, I'm starting from scratch. There's nothing else, but keep in mind, like if you use Draftbit, you have ways to actually do something to like answer a few questions, and we'll create like a starter, the equivalent of a starter app for you. So you don't see just a blank screen when you start it. But so here it is. This is my office hour app. I'm going to start by showing you guys how to read data from Firebase. So I'm going to say I want to create a list because I want to show all the different cooking sessions that are in my database. And then now that I have a list, I can go on the right-hand side to that data tab. And it's telling me that I need data on that screen level. Right now, I have no data available. So at the screen level, I need to go and add data. So I'm going to select Firebase, and I haven't set up anything yet. This is a brand new app. So I need to do a new Firebase. And now I'm going to have to give it a few kind of credential and information about the accounts so it can get started. So you see, I need the configuration and I need a service account file. So I'm going to pause here for a sec, go back to my Firebase, get all the information, and come back and fill that in. So for your configuration, you want to go to project settings, and you'll see the one thing that might not be obvious in Firebase is that you need to create an app so you can kind of have a client for your database. So that's what I'm going to do now. Just going to create an app. I'm going to give it the same name so it's not confusing. Firebase Office Hour. I'm going to register that app. And that's going to give me the credential. Here it is. So I can kind of connect to that database. So I'm going to copy those credentials for now. Oh, okay. And oh, I need to move that Zoom windows a little bit. All right, and we're going to continue. You can always come back to your project settings in Firebase, scroll down, and you'll always have that config here that I just copy paste. So you can get it from here if you forgot to copy paste it the first time. I can even like re-copy paste it here. And then now that I have that config file, config information, I can just go and paste it here. And the second thing I need is a service account file. So I need to go to service accounts in Firebase, and I'm essentially going to create a private key. So it's going to generate it. It's going to put it on my kind of download file, which is convenient for me. I'm going to come back here and say, all right, so this is done. The next step is pointing out to that service account file. So here it is. I upload it, and then that's it. You got my collection. I see all my cooks, all my cooking sessions. And so I can close this. Now this is done. I have successfully connected my Firebase. So if I go back to my screen, I can now use that connection. So it's Firebase. I want the whole collection, and I want the cooks collection. So that worked. Now that the screen is connected to Firebase, I can go back to my list, and I'll see I now have access to data. So I'm going to iterate through that list of cooks, and I'm going to just going to display it. It should be pretty straightforward, but I'm going to display the name. So the food itself, the temperature, and the time. So I'm going to display like 3 text components here. And you see it's already duplicated twice, already 6 components because I have 2 entry in my database. But so the first one, I'm going to do just the ID. Remember, I used the ID as a name itself. So, you know, carrot and steak. For the second one, I'm going to use I'm going to display the temperature. There we go. And for the third one, I'm going to display the time. So now let me just do a just tiny bit of styling so we can see things better. I'm going to put some margin. Here we go. So now we can see. I'm also going to put. Actually, that works. Okay, so I see I have carrots that I cooked at 185 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. I can obviously put like labels around it, make it nicer, but for the purpose of this demo, I'm trying to stick to a more functional approach. So this is read. I can see all my data. What I can do that's kind of cool is if I go back to my Firebase database, I can add a new one. Let's see, what can I do? Did you know you can sous vide eggs, which is pretty cool. I'm going to do temperature. She forgot what it is. I know it doesn't matter, but probably say 180 and time for like 10 minutes. I'm going to make those numbers. Oh yeah, that's Firebase. Every time I change the type, I need to retype the value. So okay, here it is. I have my egg now alongside my carrot and steak. Sorry. And it's automatic. It showed up here. I didn't have to refresh anything. And so that's the cool thing about Firestore. It does like real time update. So that's pretty powerful. Okay, should I demo? I'll go just a tiny bit further because that's kind of cool too. Actually, I was gonna add an image, but like maybe I'll go to the right and the delete and then come back to that if we have time to do images. Okay, so now let's say I want to be able from the Draftbit app to upload information into my database. So I'm going to do a different screen. I'm going to call this one write. And this one is going to be, I'm going to use a view. That way it'll be a little bit easier for the styling. But it's essentially going to be a label that says, all right, what's the name of your food? It's going to be a text input that says, like that, where I can enter the name of the food. It's going to be another label that says what's the temperature you want it at, and then another text input to enter the temperature, and then finally, I guess you get the point of what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to just essentially create the form that we're going to need. So here we go. Again, tiny bit of styling, just so we can see better. Okay, and now, so this is going to be the food I want to enter. This is going to be the temperature. And this is going to be the time. All right. Oh, one kind of critical thing I forgot is a button to save it all. So at the very bottom, I'm going to put a button and I'm going to call it save. Here we go. Just going to make that button, put a little bit of margin so it looks just, oop, no, not the size. That's not what I meant to change. I meant to change the margin. Here we go. Okay, so the one thing I need to know is that for each of those text input, I need to just give them a name just so I can reference them later. So this is going to be the food. This is going to be the temperature, and this is going to be the time. And that should be pretty straightforward. So now when I click save, I get one last thing. I know I'm being a little picky here, but I'm going to give it an example. So like this is carrot as a placeholder. This is a temperature, and this is a time. Okay, I won't go much more into customization here, but you get the idea of what you can do. So the button now, I want to attach an action to it. So I'm going to go to that interaction tab on the right-hand side, and on tap, when someone tap of that button, I want to do a Firebase request. And that request is going to be to create a document. There are a bunch of stuff you can do, but for this screen, we just want to create a new document in the cooks collection, and we're going to pass it the ID. So the ID is food. Remember, I've used the actual name of the food as the ID, just to make it more convenient. And the time is going to be the text input that I have here, and the temp is also going to be the result of the value of that text input. So now,
George, I wanted to make a real quick interjection that ID, you can leave that blank if you want to, and it'll just create an auto ID. So you can give it a name if you have like a system where you want to use a particular ID, but you can also just leave it unset and it'll automatically create it.
That's a very good addition. So you don't have to do that if you don't want to, and you could put the name of the food as like a field itself. That might be whatever you prefer to do in a database. So all right, let's preview that, see if it works. I don't do anything fancy when it actually loads, so when it's actually submitted, so it might just stay there, but we're going to look at the database to see if it worked. All right, I'm going to put turnip. Let's see, 180 for about an hour. I'm going to click save. So that's what I meant. Like I haven't done any kind of like follow-up action, so nothing is happening here yet, but hopefully it shows up here, and it did. So here's my turnip, 180 temperature, 60 minutes. So we now have that right screen, which is pretty cool. One thing I want to try to do is show a screen that says essentially like, all right, you've saved something, congrats, you can move on now. So I kind of want to create is a little bit just like a nice UX, but trying to create like a done screen. So now that you wrote something, now you're done, you can move on. So here's my screen. I'm just gonna put a text that says, I'm gonna go back to edit mode. That says, yeah, you've done it. Okay. And so now when I go back to my right screen, when I click save, I'm gonna not only create the document, but also navigate to that done screen. So hopefully that should be a slightly nicer user experience. So let's try again. I'm gonna preview that right screen again. Let's see, let's do pork. I think it's about the same. I'm gonna do now again, really doesn't matter. So I'm gonna save. Oh, I guess maybe that, let me see. Let me see if I did, let me go back to edit mode, see if I did everything correctly here. It should have gone to that done screen. So I'm going to just double check that I got everything right. That should be okay. Passing that information. Okay.
Looks right. We could check the code to see if there's anything that.
Let
looks
me
off in there, but
give it one
it
more
definitely
try,
looks.
just to see if it was just a glitch. I'm going to do pasta. All right, that
Oh,
works. So I think I refresh my screen. You might, every now and then you might have to refresh the screen. Just that might be a very small glitch going on. So, but anyway, so here it worked. I'm now back to the done screen. And obviously, like everything I've done to test it is here. So I can see the pork I just added. I can see the pasta I just added. And one last thing I want to do on that done screen is on that right screen, I should say, is passing it some information, passing information to the done screen. So you know what action you've just accomplished or what food you've just added. Let's see if we can make that work. So in my interaction, to navigate to the done screen, I'm going to pass data. I'm going to say, pass it the variable food that use the food that I get from my Firebase call. So let's see if that works, because now in my done screen, I can do something a little nicer and say, yay, you've added food, which is a little bit better for an UI. And so that food variable is going to map to the food that comes from the navigation. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's give that a try. Oop, I might just refresh this one just in case. Preview. You don't serve eat tofu, but who cares? Here we go. So now, yay, you've added tofu. So I was able to pass that information. And of course, everything was saved in the database. Okay, so that's essentially it for the right screen. I'm going to try to quickly do delete. And then we'll see where we want to take the rest of the demo. So now let's say I want to delete that tofu because I was just a test and I don't actually want to sous vide tofu. I'm going to create a brand new screen that is called, actually, you know what, a better way to do it, let me delete this. When I display on my screen, here's my tofu thing that I want to delete. So I'm just going to add a delete button in that view. That'll be a little bit clearer for the demo. So here's a button. It's a little big, but hopefully you see what it's about to do. So I'm going to rename it to delete or remove. And when I click on it, I'm going back to my interaction tab. When I tap it, I want to do another Firebase request that is meant to delete the document. Again, I got to choose my collection, which is cooks, the one I've been using so far. And I'm going to use the ID, which again is the name of the food in that list. So each of those buttons will have a different ID, obviously, because I've been iterating through that list. So I think that's it. Let's give it a try. I'm gonna preview that read screen now that it has the delete button. And I'm gonna, so let's check that. Tofu is still here. Yes. Now I'm gonna try to delete it from here. Oh, and it just disappeared right away. So not only it disappeared from the Firestore, but because this is kind of updated automatically, it got removed from my screen, which is exactly what I wanted. So I can just delete a bunch of those that I just did for the test purpose and keep a much nicer, cleaner list here. Yeah, so that's essentially it for the delete. I guess this is now a read and delete screen technically. We got a few more minutes. Figured let's try to add an image because that could be fun. And that's also gonna illustrate a couple of different things that we haven't touched on. So all right, going back to my Firestore, I'm going to say for the steak, I'm going to add a field that is image. And I'm just going to find an image online. So with steak, if you bear with me for just a sec, should not be too long. I'm going to open this on new tab. I'm going to grab that URL. Oh. Did I do that right? No, I don't think I did. Because this is a base 64. Let me do that one more time. Sorry about that. So with stake, here's the image, open this one in a new tab. Okay, so this is a proper like image file that I'm going to use here. I'm going to do it for carrots as well. I'm only going to do it for 2. So with carrots, here we go, images. This one is slightly nicer. Open the tab. Get the proper image file here. I'm going to use image as a string here for carrots. Okay, so now I have a couple of images. I'm going to go back to Draftbit. And I'm going to say, as I iterate through all of those food, I also want to add an image. I'm going to display it right before the delete button because it makes a little bit more sense. Now, it is possible that when you change your schema, like you change your database after you've already kind of set it up in Draftbit, that you might not have access to that data right away. So like now, if I try to like add a dynamic data to that as the URL of that image, I can see the food name, the temp, the time, but I don't see that image I just added. So you might have to go back to your data, to the connection you did to Firebase and just refresh it, which kind of update the Firebase schema. So now, if I close all of this, I should be able now in image to set a dynamic data here. And now I see kind of that image here. Here we go. So obviously I only did it for carrot and steak, if you guys remember. So that's why we only seeing those 2. Ideally, you will do it for everything. But yeah, that's essentially it for the read and for the image. I can obviously change the image here and it will be automatically changed here as we already covered. But that's it. So once you have this, you can always preview it here. You like in the builder, you can see the preview of what your app will look like. It just takes a second to load, but here it is. I can still delete a bunch of stuff. So this is this is the kind of the interactive version of it. You can publish it. If you request a publication, it's just going to take a minute and then I'll send you an email and you can see that app as a PWA. So it'll give you a link that you can go online and see your ad there. You can preview it on your phone through Expo. I won't cover some of it right now, but essentially you have different ways to like see the actual result of your app. And this is it for Firebase. I'm just going to give it a nicer icon here because this app, as I mentioned, is part of this Firebase pilot workspace. This is the one we just worked on. If anybody's interested, let me know. I can invite you to that workspace. You can have a look. I'll just send you that app directly so you can have a look at it. So you figure out how to reproduce it. And if you have any question, you can reach out to me directly.
Hey, George.
Yep.
Just want to interject for a second. There are a couple of questions in chat.
Oh,
that you might want to dive into.
Yeah. I'm glad you bring that up because I was not paying attention to the chat. Okay. Is it possible to show how to edit an item? Yes, I believe it is. The only issue with that, actually, it's not really an issue. So let's give it a try. Give me 1 minute to get everything together. I'm reading the other question at the same time just to see if we can cover it at once. Okay. So let's see if we can edit. So this is kind of the list of everything. I'm gonna do a different button for the edit. Here we go. So my interactivity, my interaction tab, I'm going to be on tap. I should give it a name right away so I don't forget about it. I'm going to call it edit. let's say I want to edit. Well, actually, let's start with that and we'll make it better after. So here I can create a different Firebase request that goes to update the document. Again, same collection, the cooks. The document in question that I want to update is the one that is in that kind of loop that I'm iterating through. So that's the ID in that list. And those are all the fields I can update. I will have to, I guess to do this right, I'm just going to need an input text so I can indicate like kind of the new value, right? So I'm going to put the input text right above that edit. I got to make it slightly nicer because it's bugging me a little bit. Here we go. All right, a little bit of padding. Okay, I'm sorry. I know this is not the question, but like I do want to align thing a little bit. Here we go, and same thing for this one, and then we'll be ready to move on. Okay, so now I've got my 2 buttons. This one, I'm gonna say for the purpose of the demo that I only want to update the either the temperature or the time. So let's do the temperature. So this one I'm gonna call new new temp. Ooh, there we go. Yeah. So it has a name. I'm going to change its value to new temp. Okay. So now on that button, I can create that action I was just talking about, update document. And I can say update the temperature to new temp. Okay. So let's give that a try. I'm going to preview it. All right, so carrots are cooked at 185. What if I did something crazy and cooked them at 190? I'm going to edit. So again, I haven't done any kind of like photo up action. So from a UX point of view, it looks a little like nothing happened. But hopefully, as you can see in the database, that temperature just got updated to 190. So that's how you would essentially kind of update or edit an item. Now, as a side note, a better user experience would be to have that text input be, to have that text be a text input, so you can only see it but edit it right there. For that, you will need to be able to add a default value, like a dynamic default value in that text input. And that's something I'm mentioning it because we're working on that right now. So you cannot do that just yet, but we know that's kind of a nicer UX. And so that's coming. So you won't have to have like displaying a value and then another component to edit it in the future. So just give us a little bit of time and we'll announce that feature hopefully soon. Okay, now going back, I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, let me know. I'm happy to go a little bit more deeper. Let me go back to the chat. Oh, okay, so Ryan just mentioned the default values what I was looking for. Yeah, that's coming. I will keep everybody updated on the community site. I believe you guys are all part of the community site. Make sure you have the notification turned on because we use that for announcement and the kind of update that we just talked about. So if I wanted a warning, I'm moving on to the second question. If I wanted a warning screen before delete, would I pass the ID to that screen, then have a delete and cancel button? Yeah, that's a very good question. I think that's how I will do it too. Let's try it. So I guess the answer is yes. That's probably how I will recommend you do it. And maybe let's try to see if we can do it. So I'm about to delete something. I'm just going to create a new screen to confirm. That should be fun. I haven't tried that before, so we're going to do it live all together. So in my confirm screen, I'm going to probably try to reiterate to people what they're trying to delete. You are you're about to delete. And I'll go back and add that like variable here, but right now I'm just kind of doing the layout. And again, I'm going to put that into a view, so it makes it a little bit easier to like format. I'm going to put that text into that view. So hopefully now I can just style it a tiny bit, just so you can even see it on the screen, which is what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so you're about to delete something, and then we're going to create a button to essentially confirm. That's a very cool, actually. That's a very cool question. I'm excited to try that. Okay, confirm. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our delete button, which is this one. I'm going to make sure I label it correctly so it's a little bit easier to follow. So this is my delete button. I'm going to go back to the interaction. And instead of deleting it here, I'm going to remove that action. And I'm just going to navigate through that confirm screen. And I'm going to pass it some data. I'm going to pass it essentially the ID, which again is kind of the name of the food in my case. So that should be all it needs here. So I'm passing it the ID. Okay, so I'm going to do a little test first before I do the delete on the confirm screen. I'm just going to display that I got the right food. So here it is, food from the navigation. All right, my variable, it's mapped correctly. So let's see if that works first. And then, sorry, going back.
It won't be populated with anything until you actually navigate to it.
Got it. So I'm previewing it now. All right, so here's my carrot. Let's say I want to delete the carrot. All right, here you go. You're about to delete carrot. And confirm doesn't do anything yet, because I haven't said anything yet. But that's the first step. So we're 1 week closer. So now I'm going to go back to my confirm button, and I'm going to essentially do what I did on the other screen before, which is do the delete document for the cooks collection and for the ID that I received through navigation. Okay, ooh, kind of really excited to try this out. Okay, I think I got everything now. Go back to this right. I'm going to preview that. Carrot is still there because I did not confirm or do anything. So do it now. Delete. Confirm. Okay, I didn't do any kind of next UX again, so it stays here, but like it is gone. It's gone for the database. So that works. So that's exactly what you will do, an intermediary screen to delete something. You probably want to do what we did previously. It's like when you confirm, not only you delete, but then you navigate through like a done. Yeah, you've deleted something, which, okay, now that you got me into it, we can easily, in that confirm screen, if I go to the button interaction, I can easily just add, because I already have that done screen, so I can navigate to done, and it should be a much nicer. Did we pass information? I forgot if we passed information to that done screen. I'm going to assume we did, but let's find out. Okay, so now if I go back here, oops, if I do preview, I only have one item left now, which is steak. I'm going to say, okay, I want to delete steak. Are you sure you want to delete steak? Yes. Yay. Oh, well, I guess the done was meant for added. So it says you've added it, but you guys following along, like, you know, I've actually just deleted it for my database. So that worked. All right, let's go back, see if there are any other questions in the chat. Create a custom function to display. Oh yeah, so Nick wrote an answer. Yeah, you can also do that delete through like a custom function. That's a very good point, Nick. And then confirm delete from the dialog. Yeah, it might. Yeah, depending on what you're looking for in terms of experience, that might be even better. You need access to this custom code pilot. As you mentioned, if you do if you do want access to that custom code pilot that lets you create or like code your own component, feel free to reach out to me or anybody else at Draftbit. We can introduce you to it. And Nick put the link there, so it should be easy. Okay. All right, I think that covers everything. We are 5-ish minute over. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? I'm gonna put while people try and maybe think if they have question. I'm gonna put back a stake because my app does need a stake. Yay! And now I can go back to the read and see there. Very cool. All right. Well, if that's all, we're gonna stop here. Again, we have this Firebase private group in the community site. Feel free to like post anything you have, any questions. If you want to book some time on one-on-one to go over what we covered today, feel free. Yeah, essentially that community is meant to really connect with you guys. So do not hesitate to reach out. And that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for attending, and we'll try to do some of those office hours again in the future. All right.
Thanks, George. This was great.
Good. Great. Thank you very much. See you all.
Later.